Well, welcome back to week 7. Today we're going to make some recipes where we're going to substitute things that you wouldn't think we would substitute for meat and dairy. We're going to make taco meat. We're going to make them out of taco meat out of walnuts. Now, I've mentioned before that we soak all nuts because they have an enzyme inhibitor, and walnuts also have a tannic acid. I don't know if you've ever eaten walnuts and your mouth would break out and your tongue gets little sores on it. It's because of the tannic acid. I know that happens to me, but once I soak the walnuts, I no longer have that problem. So for walnuts, I'll soak them 12 to 24 hours just in pure water. You have to cover them about double the amount of water because they'll absorb the water. And you want to make sure you use pure water, because if you use tap water, you'll get chlorine and chloramide and fluoride and whatever else they put in the water will be soaked into your nuts. And then you just drain them. Once they're drained and soaked, they're going to need to be used within 2 or 3 days. You'll need to refrigerate them. If you're not going to use them right away, you can put them in a Ziploc bag or airtight container and put them in your freezer. They'll keep in your freezer for months, and that way you always have them when you're ready to use them. So we're going to use the food processor for this. We're going to put our walnuts in. And then sun-dried tomatoes. And again, I've soaked the sun-dried tomatoes. These are tomato halves that come and they're really hard, so I soak them in water. And I just pack a jar full of the sun-dried tomatoes, and then I fill it with water, and I'll stick it in my fridge, and it'll keep in the fridge for 2 or 3 weeks. So when I need them again, they're soaked and they're ready. These are just some of the things you can do to make food preparation a little easier, to have some of these things ready ahead of time, because they will take 2 to 3 hours to soften in water. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and add these sun-dried tomatoes. Some of the liquid got in here, so I'm not going to pour the liquid in. All right, and then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of cumin. Now the recipe that I have here is just basic. It just has a cup of walnuts, a half a cup of sun-dried tomatoes, 2 teaspoons of cumin, and 1 teaspoon of garlic. Okay, and with the recipe, like I said, there's just the 4 ingredients, but you can add some chili powder to make it taste a little more like taco meat, or some cayenne. You can add a lot of different spices that would work with your flavor palette. So I'm going to put in some garlic, and 4 swirls is about a teaspoon of garlic. I've got that one measured from memory. I am going to go ahead and put just about a half a teaspoon of chili powder in. I found that when I make food for other people, I tend to make it a little spicy because I like spice. So again, make it, the heat be what you like it to be. Because we're using the sun-dried tomatoes, we really don't need to use salt. Sun-dried tomatoes have salt in them, and it can be too salty. So if you need salt, add it later, but try it without it. Okay, then we're going to put the top on the food processor, and we're just going to blend this until it's a coarse ground. We don't want it to be mushy. So we're going to turn it on and let it go. Okay, I'm just going to scrape it down to get everything mixed in. And it looks like it's almost perfect right now. I'm just going to pulse it another time or 2. Okay, so here's what we have. It's crumbly, just like, it looks like ground beef. I'm going to go ahead and taste it, make sure that flavors are good. It really is amazing how walnuts and some tomatoes and spices can taste like ground beef. It is a wonderful substitution. I'm going to get this poured in here. Okay. I'm going to move this machine out of the way. And we're going to bring up our Vitamix. So here we have a bowl of taco meat. It really does look and taste like it was the real deal, but it has no cholesterol. It's healthy for you, and it's going to do a body good. All right, for the chipotle sour cream, which is what is next, sour cream messes with a lot of people when I use that term or when I say cheese, because everything I do is raw vegan. Some of the items are cooked vegan, but they're vegan, which means they're plant-based, there's no animal products. But the way we make dairy products is to use cashews and other nuts and seeds. So today we have 2 cups of cashews that had been soaked for 2 to 4 hours and then drained well. And again, cashews are a legume. They're not actually a nut. So you don't want to soak them more than 4 hours. If you soak them overnight like you do the walnuts, they'll get really mushy. They can get kind of gray and weird looking. So we have that. And then we're going to put 1/4 cup of lemon juice. A teaspoon of salt. That's a 1/2 teaspoon each measure. So we got a teaspoon there. And then chipotle powder. And again, I like it spicy. So if you're not really big on the spice, I would start with a 1/2 teaspoon. I usually put about a teaspoon in. Sometimes I'll put more if I like that kick. Chipotle has a real smoky flavor to it. And it has an after kick. So you taste it and it tastes really nice, and then the burn comes afterwards. So you need to add it a little at a time if you're not used to the heat. And then we need water. We need a 1/2 to a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup. Usually I make this fairly thin, and I'll pour it into a squirt bottle. I'll make it thin enough to put through a squirt bottle, then I can drizzle it onto the dishes that I'm making. All right, that's all we put in there. You put the lid on it. We're going to turn it on. You want this to be, you can see how creamy that is, but that's going to be really thick. So normally I would make this a little bit thinner. I'm going to add just a little more water. First I'm going to taste the heat of it. I'm going to add a little more. It's not quite spicy enough. Okay, so we've added a little more chipotle and a little more lemon. I'll turn it back on. Okay, now this makes a fair amount. It makes a couple cups. But you can freeze this. If you put it in containers, whatever size container you want to freeze it in. When you freeze it, it doesn't change the flavor, but it does change the consistency and the fact that it gets thick. It'll really thicken up. So what I do is I always freeze my nut cheeses like this, and that way I have them available, ready to go when I need them. And I put them in small quantities, so I'll have it for a meal or two, and it works out perfect. And then I will put it in a bowl, let it thaw, and then I'll pour it into a bowl. And with the whisk, I'll add just a little bit of water. With the whisk, I'll make it the consistency that I need it. It doesn't change the flavor. And it just, you actually get a little bit more for your money that way, because as you thin it out, you add a little more volume to it, the quantity. right. Again, we've made some other nut cheeses. You can do a lot with cashews. You can do a lot with substituting cashews for dairy products and get the benefits, get the taste and the emotional feel that you love when you eat dairy products. I don't know, we all seem to like dairy. All right, now I'm going to show you how to build a wrap. Again, you can use whatever you like for this. I'm going to go ahead and reposition some things here. I'm just going to slice a tomato, dice it. So I'm just going to dice this tomato. Keep your fingers out of the way when you're dicing. And again, you can put whatever veggies that you like. Today I'm going to use some tomato, some sprouts, cilantro, and bell pepper. So I'm going to use yellow bell pepper for a contrasting color. It happens to be what I had on hand. You could use orange, red. I don't usually use green peppers because they are not completely ripe. And you want to have fruits and vegetables that are definitely ripe. Okay, and then some cilantro. I'm just going to give it a rough chop, just once around and then another time turn it. And with the cilantro, I pull the big stems off, but I leave the little stems. All right, now I'm going to take some romaine lettuce leaves. And these are just lettuce leaves. You can use kale, you could use green leaf. You know, there's a lot of different things that you could use. Whatever greens you like. I like romaine because they just kind of make a nice wrap all by themselves. You don't need a lot of nut meat. I would prefer to have, because it's so flavorful, you know, you don't need a lot of it, and it is high in calories. It's also high in nutrients, but it does have the calories. I would prefer to have 3 or 4 lettuce wraps with fewer ingredients in it than 1 or 2 big ones. The lettuce is part of my favorite. It's my favorite part of it, actually, the crunch of the lettuce. So we'll put some nut meat in here. And the nut meat also freezes. Anything that's nut-based will freeze well. Again, you know, this made a couple of cups. So put this in containers. You can put it in a baggie or airtight container and put it in your freezer. You can pull it out at night, stick it in your fridge along with the sour cream, and you'll have ingredients ready for dinner or lunch the next day. You can package them where you can take this to work and just build your own wraps at work or at school. So this is a great recipe for doing ahead for convenience. So we're just going to put some on here now. Sprouts, I love any kind of sprouts. These are clover sprouts that we're going to use today. Then I'm going to take the chipotle sour cream. Again, if this is in a squirt bottle, it'll stay in the fridge for 2 to 3 weeks. It really lasts a long time. And if I had a squirt bottle, I would just squirt it over it. I'm just going to kind of dollop it, spread it a little bit. And we'll just put a few sprouts on top of that and make it look pretty. And there you have taco wraps that are good to go. All right, so this is a great recipe to use. Now, this can be versatile. You could make a taco salad out of this. Just make a big bed of greens, mixed greens, whatever greens you like. Sprinkle the nut meat on and all the toppings. Use this as your dressing. If you want to make a little bit of salsa and add the sour cream to it, it's kind of like a fiesta dressing. You can take that with you on the go. It's a great way to have a variety of dishes. So anyway, I encourage you to try using some nut meats and cashew-based dairy products, non-dairy products, to enhance your journey as you eat healthy. So again, it's about making better choices today so tomorrow can be your best, so you can live in optimum health. Enjoy your week.